Standing behind me are two of the absolute hero cars of the late 90s and early 2000s. To my left-hand side, Nissan Sentra 1600 STI. We all know about the 200 STI, don't get ahead of me. And to my right-hand side, we've got the Corolla RXI, which is the RSI with a little bit more features. So both these cars have got legendary status here in South Africa. And if I had to choose one of these cars to take home with me today, I just don't think it's such an easy choice. Which would you take?
Looking for a quality used vehicle or to sell your pride and joy? Tired of the online noise and disappointment? My Car Now is a Johannesburg-based online dealership offering our clients high-quality used motor vehicles. We pride ourselves on walking our clients through the process of buying or selling their cars. All our vehicles are prepared with excellence and utmost integrity, and we value the long-term relationship with all our clients. If you're in the market or looking to sell, mycarnow.co.za should be your choice. If you enjoy our content, please subscribe for more.
Standing behind me are two of the absolute hero cars of the late 90s and early 2000s. To my left-hand side, Nissan Sentra 1600 STI. We all know about the 200 STI, don't get ahead of me. And to my right-hand side, we've got the Corolla RXI, which is the RSI with a little bit more features. So both these cars have got legendary status here in South Africa. And if I had to choose one of these cars to take home with me today, I just don't think it's such an easy choice. Which would you take? Okay, so I get to drive one of the cars that I have actually never driven before. So this really is a first impression video of the Corolla RXI. Boy, I gotta tell you, I've been looking forward to this day for quite some time. And I was actually considering looking for one to buy it as a vehicle that I can keep for myself. I just love the naturally aspirated little Japanese motors, with my all-time favorite being Honda's S2000. Now, the Corolla RXI. Man, I gotta tell you, this car is completely stock. And if it wasn't for the RXI badge, there's not much here that makes the car feel special, that gives it that kind of like cult status that we know it does have. I mean, this is highly sought after car. But it just doesn't feel, other than what I should acknowledge is the fact that the layout of the dash does look sporty, especially if you see that this thing revs up all the way to 8,000 RPM. Then of course you've got the 6-speed manual, which back in the day was reserved for supercars. And to see all of this come together in a Corolla, it's pretty nice, but there's nothing that just makes it pop. Yeah, sure, the leather bucket seats are very nice, but you'd expect at least a little bit of Alcantara, maybe some red stitching somewhere, something that just says, hey, I'm a little bit more sporty than you think. What it lacks in visual appeal, it certainly makes up for in terms of driver feel. The gearbox is great, and all those little elements that make the car a fantastic driving experience. And of course, it's a Toyota, so you know it's not going to break. This being my first go at a RXI, I gotta say, I expected a little bit more. So RXI oaks, don't throw me with your stones. I'm coming into this video as a neutral. According to Toyota, the RXI is a 20-valve, 4-cylinder, 1.6-liter naturally aspirated, front-engined 5-door saloon. The engine in the RXI delivers 115 kilowatt and 156 Newton meters of torque, which was good enough to thrust this thing from 0 to 100 in, wait for it, 8.49 seconds. Not 8.5, 8.49 seconds. And push it all the way to a top speed of 206 kilometers per hour, which is something that we will not be testing today. But all of that performance coming from a little 1.6 liter 4-pod, it's amazing. It does have low down grunt, it does have power all through the rev range, but I think what it misses is that high end thump that you get from a VTEC, from an early or late 90s, early 2000s VTEC. Now I know that the VVTi engines are probably more driver friendly, you can daily this easier, but I just think if they could pull that off, this would have been the ultimate throwback to budget performance Japanese 90s sedans. That being said, I still love it. I still love it. I know I'm just complaining with a glass full of cream or a cup full of cream. I don't know how to put it in any other way, but let me give you the South African word for this car that sums it up well. Lekker. This So immediately driving the STI, sure, this is not the 200 STI, it is the 1600 STI. Still a brilliant car, but immediately it smells different. It's got, you can see it's a Nissan. The Toyota was classic Toyota, but both JDM, and it immediately, it's got that whole Japanese vibe going for it. It's just such a romantic feeling in like a car guy kind of way. But when you drive these vehicles, you kind of get thrown back to the heydays of the 90s where Friends was on TV. You could still play outside until the sun sets and nobody was worried about you. People were still, you didn't worry about jumping onto the back of a pickup truck. Safety was a complete afterthought. And everything was so visceral. I mean, when you drive cars of those eras, you just immediately know that the mechanical feel, the engineering, the design, you had to be pretty good to make a car fast back in the day. And even by modern standards, there's a certain way these vehicles feel and make you feel that most cars today just can't live up to. They just can't. And so I guess when you drive these vehicles, you kind of realize why people are paying such premiums for them. Because they buy into their own history. Maybe a little bit more than what they buy into the actual vehicle's history. Because it's the memories of the times we had with these cars. The Nissan Sentra STIs, the Opel Superbosses, Golf VR6s, Honda Civic VTECs, all those vehicles, and then of course the Corolla RXI or the RSI, all those vehicles, very special in their own right. They actually had cult followings. It's a proper thing back in the day. And that's the reason why these cars are so blooming special. It's because when you get behind the wheel, it just makes you remember back in the day when things were a lot more or a lot less sanitized. Yeah, as a car, it's a blooming good one. The Sentra is a lot more kind of feel a lot more go-karty than the RXI. The RXI feels a lot more plush, feels a lot more sophisticated, feels a lot more premium. Where the Sentra is kind of more like a boxy, sporty, light on its feet kind of vibe. And the engine is also pretty strong in this, although it's not quite got the power of the RXI. Still pretty good, around about the 80 kilowatt mark. And it revs all the way up to 7,000 RPM, which is pretty good. And you know what another thing is about these engines? Although they are very highly strung and they make a very generous specific power output, they're reliable. These engines will far outlast any modern engine that comes out of pretty much any manufacturer's factory these days. The Sentra has a top speed quoted at about 180 kilometers an hour. I couldn't find any stats on 0 to 100, but if you'd have to ask me, I'd say it's around about the 10-second mark. That's what it feels like. Engine is rated anywhere between 79 to 86 kilowatts and around about 140, 145 Newton meters of torque, which is also pretty good. This is a naturally aspirated 1.6 liter 4-cylinder petrol engine. And I drove this car on the open road, and I tell you what, third gear is a long one. I mean, you far exceed the speed limit in third gear when you rev out to 7,000 RPM. The Sentra is a good car. The RXI is a good car. It's a pity we couldn't feature a VTEC Civic in this video, or even any of the other competition cars. They're all brilliant cars. It'll be such a tough choice though when all of them are in the same crawl and you've got to make a decision. Guys, so at My Car Now, we are all car guys, right? The reason why you're watching this video is because you've also got a vested interest in vehicles of this era. So I want to invite you, why don't you like and subscribe, leave a comment in the section. Let us know what's your favorite 90s car. I'd love to know that. And of course, what would you like to see us review? Do you have any special requests? Maybe you're a viewer and you say, you know what, you've got something special that you would like us to review for you. Please contact us, reviews@mycarnow.co.za. And Ryan, the man behind the camera, he's the oak to contact, and he'll get back to you if it's something that we'd definitely be interested in reviewing. So this isn't such an easy comparison. Having driven both cars, man, it's a tough call. Sure, the RXI delivers in terms of performance, in terms of torque, in terms of drivability, the 6-speed gearbox, it all adds to the experience of driving the RXI. The 1600 STI, on the other hand, that kind of is more of a throwback towards the 90s, where the RXI is more of a throwback to the 2000s, early 2000s. This car, I like the styling. I like the way this looks. I actually do prefer the way this car looks over the RXI. Now, the RXI fans and the RSI fans, please don't shoot the messenger. Looks is a subjective thing. But if it was my money, both these cars are seriously expensive for what they are. I'm ever so slightly gravitating towards the good old Toyota here. And that's not just because Alan Donald and Lance Klusen did the ad in him. I just think that 6-speed gearbox with that 20-valve, 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine, it just does it for me. So if it was you, and you had the choice, which one would you take? Please let us know in the comments below.